Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Curious Realm's continuing coverage of the Stairway to the Stars conference right here at the Luxor in Las Vegas, Nevada. We are joined by experiencer and abductee Erich Degner. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
Fantastic. We had a chance to chat, I guess it was a couple MUFONs ago.
Yeah.
And then we ran into each other again at the MUFON. And then I saw on Facebook that you were going to be here. And
yeah.
It's been great to be able to see you, hang out, stuff like that, and hear more of your story. Before we get into the writing of your book, let's hear about your experiences. When did your first experience happen to you, Erich?
The big event, the one that I knew about, was August 7th, 2021. And I had gotten fired from an accounting job like 3 weeks before for doing workman's comp for my hand, and the boss didn't like that. So anyhow, I got fired, and I was doing a lot of dancing and at this club, and my friend was like, hey, I'm having a rave. And so I went to this rave.
Always fun.
Yeah, it's like 20 minutes west of Portland, out in the woods. And I arrived on a Friday, set up my tent, met this guy, met some other people, went to bed kind of early. Next day, met some new people. The guy I'd met the night before, he apparently got a little crazy and tried to run people over at night. So they took his car keys away and told him he had to go home, but somebody needed to give him a ride home, and I'm like, I'll do it. So I drove him home. He got me an Uber back to the rave. I think I got there at like 3:30 or so, and I was dancing at this RV, and then the main stage was, I don't know, 200 yards away. So I was dancing at this RV at 4:51, and then somehow I was at the main stage recording. I don't know how I got there, maybe 30 seconds, and I'm recording the main stage, and all of a sudden there's this, like, imagine a burlap sack, but it's metallic, and you can see me filming the stage, and all of a sudden my hand, this mesh comes over me. You can see metal, and all of a sudden I start moving, and it looks like a mama cat dragging a kitten. Like, I'm on the ground. I thought I was crawling at first, but I've watched the video over and over. They took an 18-minute video when they took me, actually.
Wow.
So, yeah, I didn't find it till the next day when I got home. So they take me at the men's stage. There's like 50 people there. This mesh must have been a cloak because nobody saw it. They drag me to a porta potty. Halfway to the porta potty, the music stops, the sky stops. You know, it's like time stops, and it's like slow motion to the porta potty.
Wow.
The door opens, and it's, you know, a plastic porta potty, and for like 3 or 4 frames, I'm like on the table, looking up, and it's metal. It's not plastic anymore. It goes from plastic to metal like that. So I don't know if I like went in the porta potty and got zipped up to a ship. And then the video they took is 10 minutes of black. You know, no visual, and you can hear, it sounds like I'm on a ship. You know, there's like clanking sounds, engine sounds, dripping, footsteps, metal clanking. I don't know if they have instruments they're working on me. Growling, you hear the couple growls.
Oh, wow.
After 10 minutes of all these sounds, you know, it sounds like, it's like, you know, sounds like I'm on a ship.
Yeah.
After 10 minutes, it's reverse course. The porta potty door opens. They drag me back to the main stage. It's a little different. I'm like dragged on the ground halfway like before. Halfway to the stage, the sky gets all weird. You can see the trees, and I believe you can hear a UFO taking off. You can hear this like click, 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 click. You know how there's kind of a clicking sound?
Yeah.
And as the UFO's taking off, and I'm going back to the main stage, all of a sudden the music comes back on. It's like, whoosh, and I like fly through the air to the main stage, and they drop me off at the same spot that I was at 4:51. And
wow.
And it was nighttime now, and everybody was like, "Where were you for 4 hours?" I was like, "I don't know."
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So that happened. I didn't know. You know, it was a weird afternoon night.
Sure.
And that was a Saturday. Sunday, I drove home back to Portland, and I'm looking at my pictures of the weekend, and I see this video. This is a weird story. The video said 3 minutes and 7 seconds. And I played it. It's actually 18 minutes.
Wow.
And I copied the video to a PC, and it's 3 minutes and 7 seconds. I copied it to an Apple, and it's 18 minutes. Like, the PC one is like a trailer, almost. It's like a shorter version.
Interesting.
Yeah, so for whatever reason, I did it on my iPhone, so yeah, 18-minute video. That happened August 7th, 2021, and then all the synchronicity happened. I filed a MUFON report that day.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I joined MUFON, and their symposium was in Vegas 2 weeks later. I mean, what timing? I got abducted and a symposium.
Yeah.
So that was my first event where I networked. I showed some people the video and met the MUFON guy that did my case. And so yeah, that's kind of how it started.
And how did this experience change you? At least the first experience, because we'll get into the second one, how that came about. But did you notice any difference in yourself or anything like that?
I mean, I've always been really spiritual and kind of I'm a witch. I do magic. I've been doing it since, 96. So like I'm 50 now. So I've been doing magic. Not bad stuff, but for half my life. So. But I didn't really have a tradition at all. I'm kind of eclectic, and I just make stuff happen. But that event kind of showed me that I'm on a shamanic path. Like, that's how it changed me, is like, instead of trying to make stuff happen, I just kind of roll with it now. And the synchronicities that have happened since then, and the people I've met, I've just become more of like a helper. Like, what can I do to help you out? Like, that's what shamans do. They just kind of feel around and, whoever needs help.
Can't not help.
Yeah, like my first day here, this guy was setting up a booth, the guy from Mount Shasta. He was out of sorts and it was a hot mess. And I was like, hey, well, you want me to help? I helped him set up his booth for an hour and connected with him. So that's it made me change into just being sensitive to people and empathic too. And, I can read people's minds sometimes, what they're thinking. And
what was your first impression after the situation happened? Did you remember the situation immediately? Did you remember being gone? Anything like that?
When I saw the video, when I got home the next day, and I thought back to, hey, what happened yesterday? Here's the weird thing. I was at like 2 places at once. Like when I got dropped off and I was gone 4 or 5 hours, half the people at the rave were like, where were you? Half other people, I interacted with them. While I was gone, I was like interacting. I almost bought a t-shirt. I bought some food. I hung out with some bros. I hung out with this gal.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I was almost like for half the people I was gone, disappeared into the third. Half the people, I don't know if that was
like your body was running through autonomic response while your consciousness was relocated.
Yeah, it's like I was somehow on their side and Earth plane at the same time.
Wow.
But when I looked at the video the next day, I'm like, gosh, that was a really strange day. And so, I wrote down everything. I journaled as much as I could, what I could remember. I actually called MUFON because I Googled it, hey, file a UFO report. And I found the 2 guys in Oregon. They had their phone numbers and email. So I actually called the head guy. He actually called me back, I don't know, like an hour later. We had a little 15-minute chat. I'm like, I'll file a report. So I think I filed a report the next day. And then that MUFON thing happened 2 weeks later.
Wow.
Yeah, the timing was just crazy.
Now, you've had another abduction experience as well that you were not aware of.
Yeah, I've actually...
that came to you through regression, correct?
No.
I thought that there was regression involved. So.
Yeah, I did have a regression. It took 2 years. So I got taken in August 2021. I went to my MUFON thing, and I just didn't go to any other events the rest of 2021. 2022 comes around, and then the first event was in my local area, McMinnville UFO Festival.
Okay.
Have you heard of that?
Absolutely. It's a big one.
And it's funny, I've lived in Oregon for, 15 years. I never went to the thing. Not even once. I never went to it.
Yeah.
So I went, it was in May. It was actually my birthday weekend. And I got a hotel. And I think it was Friday the 13th. And then my birthday was Saturday. And on Saturday, I was driving from my hotel to the community center to see Kathleen Martin.
Okay.
And then Whitley's driver was later, so I was really stoked. I'm like, oh, I got to see Whitley and Kathleen on my birthday. And I parked my car, and I'm starting to walk. And it's like just across the street, maybe 2 blocks, 3 blocks to the community center from my car.
Okay.
And just kind of, I felt kind of out of it. I had a weird couple days. So I'm walking to the community center. I sit down on the seat right when Kathleen's talking, and this video shows up on my phone. It actually got texted to me, like literally when I sat down. So I look at the video, and it was just like the August one. This mesh, but it's only a minute and a half. The video starts, I lock my car, there's this like mesh over me. I'm going to the community center for a minute and a half, and then it ends, and I sit down, and I was really out of it. So after Kathleen's talk, I went down to the MUFON. They had a table, and I'm like, hey, I think I just got taken again. There's a video that's very similar to my August one. Does anyone want to interview me now? Well, I'm fresh, and they're too busy. So that was the second one. So that was my second MUFON case I filed. I've only been regressed once, and that was contacting the desert this year in June, which was almost, like 20 months after it happened, and I got regressed by Yvonne, and I specifically picked that rave date. That was the only day we looked at.
And what additional information were you able to glean from that regression session, Eric?
What I gleaned was... it was kind of like validation. Like I had some visuals, but it was more feeling during my regression. I felt like a garbage bag being placed over me. I mentioned the mesh, right? I actually felt like I was being covered by some sort of bag or something, and then I felt something grabbing my neck. I told you the mama cat. I felt something grabbing my neck, and then I felt a floating up. Like when I got in the porta potty. So like when I got in the porta potty, I floated up into a ship or something.
Okay.
And then I was on an exam table, and a mantis doctor. So that's when I started having visuals in my regression.
So you were taken by mantids, apparently.
No.
No.
I think I was taken. Well, if you watch my video, I get dragged like a kitten, and you can hear a growl a couple times and footsteps. So it's a big creature that dragged me. So I think it's a reptile. I mean, what else? What else growls?
Yeah.
So the Greys, I think, and the reptilians are the minions. They do the dirty work. They come and kidnap you, and then they take you to the ship. And some Greys are helping out the mantis, who's the taller being. That's the doctor. And apparently the mantis is the one that's been with you your whole life.
All right.
And so when I got taken, it kind of brought up deja vu. Oh shit, this is maybe happening my whole life. Because I thought about childhood. One time I went to a planetarium when I was 5, and had like this structure. The planetarium has the structure.
Yeah.
And I freaked out. So it was like maybe, I was a 5-year-old. Maybe they got me on a exam table when I was a kid, and it triggered it.
Absolutely.
There's all these events, earlier. I'm like, oh shit! In 2011, when my ear popped, maybe they got me then. But I didn't know till August 21. It was my quote unquote big event. They fucked up my nose. I have sinusitis.
Wow.
I got physical evidence.
And aside from the shamanism, how has this changed you? Has this changed any thought forms that you have about alien life? Has this changed any other parts of your life, Eric?
Yeah. It's funny because I think Nick yesterday was talking about, why are they here? And before in 5th grade, I actually went to a symposium
Okay.
in San Jose, and it freaked the crap out of me. So it might have freaked the crap out of me because I was getting taken.
Sure.
But what changed was...
It can also be a little creepy to begin with.
Yeah.
I got a 6-year-old, and sometimes it's funny because sometimes, like, he'll watch one thing, and then the next thing is, like, even lighter than that, and he's like, oh, no, 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 no. Like, Ghostbusters is great, but, like, The Mummy by Boris Karloff, that's way too creepy. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, so, I mean...
one is way more realistic than the other, but all right.
So, like, before I got taken, I just thought that the ETs were here as tourists. You know, it's like they come from their, hey, take a 2-week cruise to come check out humanity, this human race that's going down, you know? But after I got taken, I believe they choose people for a reason. And people ask me, why were you chosen? And you know, this has always been my answer, because the old-timer experiences aren't going to be here forever. They're getting old, you know?
Yeah.
They're in their late 70s, you know, 60s, and they're not, the baton has to be passed.
Even when it comes to the communities of this stuff, and that is one of the things that I talk about regularly on the show whenever I have people like Ryan Edwards from San Antonio, who is a cryptozoologist in his mid-20s, you know, things like that. We have to start passing these batons, whether it's MUFON, whether it's NICAP, what have you. Most of the people that are out there being field investigators, that kind of stuff, they're in their early 60s.
We need some fresh blood.
Like it's like when I walk into a 4th Degree Knights of Columbus meeting, they're like, oh, look at the young blood. I'm like, dude, I am almost 50.
Right.
I am not the young blood that you're looking for.
Right.
Like, you're looking for like 30-year-olds to carry this to the next people.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just it. With all of these topics, we have to be looking to how do we pass this on to the next people? How do we make sure that, especially things like MUFON, stuff like that, that protocols are followed?
Right.
That these things that have been in place to make sure that the scientific process is preserved is still preserved, but at the same time, bringing new interest in.
Totally. Yeah, so I think they chose me because these older experiences are not going to be here forever, and the baton has to be passed. I feel like there's kind of a gap between the 70s people and now. There's not a great, you know, there's people talking, but there's not a great case like a Travis or a... And so, you know, I've run into him a lot. He's my bud.
Cool.
I keep running into him. But yeah, the baton has to be passed, and I'll tell you this funny story.
Please.
I went to MUFON, Kentucky, right, which was 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I was just going to go to Cincinnati to 3-day trip, and I'm like, gosh, that's a little short trip. Why don't I extend it a little bit and make it worth my while? So I'm an MGM guy. We're in an MGM place here. So got online like, oh, Mississippi. They got a Biloxi MGM there. So it was free. So I flew to Mississippi first for 3 days. My first day, I drove to New Orleans. I'd never been there. My second day, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to Alabama. Oh, wait, there's Pascagoula there.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, that's really close. And so I Googled it. And, oh, there's a plaque for Calvin. There's a plaque for Calvin Parker. I'm going to go see that before I go to Alabama. So I drive to his plaque. I see it. The local takes a picture of me. I go on to Alabama, back to Mississippi, fly to Kentucky for MUFON, and I find out that Calvin passed away the morning I drove to his plaque.
Oh, wow.
I literally left my hotel in Biloxi when he passed.
Crazy.
I arrived at his plaque like an hour after he passed.
Wild.
Yeah, so even though I've never met Calvin Parker, he passed me the baton that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, like I said, they're not going to be here forever. There just needs to, you know, I'm kind of looking to the future. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be, I got to write a book.
I think right now we are fortunate for the fact that there has been so much opened up in the last 3 years. You know, just since 2017, when Lou Elizondo hit CNN with the first videos, things like that. That has opened a whole, not just can of worms, but conversation.
Definitely.
And then marrying that with things like quantum entanglement winning the Nobel Peace Prize. Like, it goes to tie so many things together and opens up so many conversations that not only individuals but scientists were once closed-minded to.
Right. And now they're getting in on it.
And it's much like the NASA panel said, like, we need to remember that the literal mission of science is to explore anomaly. Like, that's our job, is to find out what that anomaly is or why it's happening.
Right.
You know, and that has been woefully ignored.
It has. So yeah, it's nice that it's opened up with the leaks of the videos, because more of Americans, world people are open to it. And it's so much easier for me to be an experiencer now than the people back in the past. Because I'm not going to have these skeptics like hounding me and fill up class. And, so I got it easier. The people back in the day, they went through the ringer. Like Travis and
not just, Travis is a case that I bring up regularly because he and Mike Heston and the other guys went through a different realm of things. Like, Mike Heston lost federal forestry contracts. He was under investigation for murder of his best friend.
They went through the ringer.
Like, they went through a totally different set of circumstances than any other experiencer ever.
Right.
You know, there are many, like Betty and Barney Hill went through the ringer of investigation, all that kind of stuff. Even Calvin Parker. Yeah. You know, but
for me, it kind of comes around full circle. They chose me because I was an accountant before it happened. You know, so I'm legit. I'm not like some wacko. Like, I was an accountant, and 2 weeks later, I got taken. Yeah. So I'm legit, right? You know, I have an MBA. They picked Travis because he's Mormon, he doesn't drink or smoke, he's a straight shooter, he freaking aced the test for becoming a nurse, you know, he used to study it. You know, they picked Betty and Barney because they're interracial, he was, a postal worker, she was a social worker. So they picked the people that are legit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's why they picked Travis, because he's a straight shooter, he's not a druggie, and... Yeah.
Exactly.
So they're smart, and they pick people for a reason.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that I've had my own paranormal experiences. I have had one experience seeing a literal UFO. It was not a craft. It was an amorphous blob.
Oh wow!
Flying through the sky. Wild stuff.
Yeah.
But I doubt no experiencers experience until proven otherwise, because of my experiences.
Yeah.
But also because of my experiences, even with my own experiences, the realm of evidence has to be higher for me, you know? And it's amazing to sit down, talk with you about this. Once again, the last couple times that we've gotten to hang out, it was literally like just hanging out outside, having a cigarette or whatever, things like that. And happened to sidle up to the conversation and had a couple bits to add in. And, all right, guys, see y'all later. But to hear this story in detail is remarkable. And I remember seeing part of your video previously.
Yeah. They chose me, you know. And I just been on this.
Everyone's experience happens for their own reason.
And I was not part of this whole scene before, and I cannot tell you how fast I've connected with people. Like, I just meet the people I met to meet.
Awesome.
You know, like Travis and Kathleen and Nick Pope. I just
well,
the engineering guys.
And once again,
running into the same people.
The fact that, and it's something that we discuss with people like Michael J.S. Carter, you know, who is the concept that if you had an experience back in the 70s, how were you going to find a support group?
Right, you
didn't have the internet like we do now. You didn't have websites. You didn't have open conversation about this stuff.
Right.
You know, so it's like maybe you found a pull tab on a back bulletin board at the library.
Yeah, I mean, all you can do is maybe buy a book by one of these researchers that says, "Hey, write me," and they write a letter. Hang on. I don't want to tell anyone this happened to me.
There wasn't an experiencer resource team with MUFON at the time.
No.
There weren't any means of support. Now there is tons. There's tons of communities where you can go, get together with other experiencers, realize that you are not the only one.
Definitely.
That you are, it's not that your experience isn't unique, it's that you are e pluribus unum.
Right.
Of many, you are one.
Right.
You know, and that's a different concept. Once you get that, that you know, you are one of many people that were chosen to have an experience.
And I was searching for a group, you know, since it happened, and there's not really anything happening in Oregon.
Yeah.
And so luckily I linked up with Yvonne Smith.
Yeah. She's great.
I first met her in Roswell, just, you know, bought her book, met her for the first time. And then I saw her at Contact in the desert. Actually, I saw her, how did I hook up with her? So I met her a couple of years ago, and then this last year I was in Alien Con. I went Alien Con and I went to Roswell for Tom Reed's little UFO expo that he did this year. So I was at Alien Con, and MUFON SoCal had a table, and Earl Grey and this gal Sandy were there, so I started talking to him, and I'm like, yeah, I got taken 2 years ago. Haven't been regressed yet. I'm looking, you know, and you know, Sandy was like, oh, Yvonne, she's and I'm like, yeah,
she's amazing. She's
so
amazing.
Sandy,
beautiful energy.
Sandy emailed Yvonne at AlienCon, and then Yvonne emailed me, and now I'm part of her Suro group.
Awesome.
So they do an online out-of-state Zoom meeting once a month, and so that's great. I finally got I think I've done like 5 months worth. I've been with them.
Great.
And then I got regressed by Yvonne at Contact in the Desert.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And so I'm really, really thankful to be part of that Suro group, because I'm in Oregon and they're in SoCal, so they're really close. If I want, they actually do in-person groups once a month too. They do 2 meetings a month.
Awesome.
One in person somewhere like, you know, Santa Monica or something.
Sure.
And then the Zoom meeting online, which is great. Because, you know, there's like 8, 12 people that are all experiencers.
Groovy.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
And so if I need to get regressed again,
Yeah.
she's one of the best. And if I want, I can go fly down to Pasadena to see her, or one of these
at the same time, once a month you have a group of fellow experiencers that you can share with and decompress with, because it can be a lot. It can be a lot. Whether it is a paranormal experience, whether it's a cryptid experience, whether it's a UFO sighting, an abduction, there is that state of what they call ontologic shock, where quite literally all that you know to be breaks down
your whole
at that moment.
Changes
like,
everything.
and it can be hard to come back from that. It can be hard to make sense of things after that sometimes.
Yeah.
You know? I want to thank you for the time sitting down, man. I cannot wait till the book comes out. You're about 140 pages in right now.
Yeah, 141.
Wow.
I'm shooting for 250.
Okay.
It's going to be called Abducted in Broad Daylight, because they got me at 4:51 p.m. in the middle of the day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I greatly appreciate it, Eric. Look right there at the camera. Let everybody know where they can go to like, follow, subscribe, where they can go to follow your blog.
I don't have a website yet, but just go to Facebook, and my name is Erich, E-R-I-C-H, last name Degner, D-E-G-N-E-R, and friend me or leave me a message. And, you know, as soon as I do have my book come out, I'm going to sell it with the video. So I'm going to have my book with the DVD, so with the full 18-minute video. So
epic.
And as soon as I have that out, I am going to have a website. So,
awesome.
But I don't want to make a website before I have a book, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much once again for the time. While you are online making friends with Erich Degner, make sure to stop on by Curious Realm. CuriousRealm.com is where you can find all the episodes. That is where you can like, follow, subscribe, share. That's where you can get all of the books from our guests, as well as follow their videos on YouTube. We link all of our guests' YouTube page right there on CuriousRealm.com/videos. So stay tuned through these commercial breaks, folks. We'll be right back with our continuing coverage of the final day of Stairway to the Stars right here at the fabulous Luxor in Las Vegas, Nevada, right after this.